Becky Hammon rose from obscurity to an outstanding pro basketball career. The 5'6" guard from South Dakota was lightly recruited out of high school and undrafted out of Colorado State. But Hammon clawed her way to superstardom with an arsenal of skills that defied her size. An uncanny ability to contort and angle around bigger rim protectors, a deadly outside stroke, and a steady passing hand with the sense, timing, and creative flair to make all her teammates better. Hammon's skills left her in the top 5 on a variety of WNBA career leaderboards. Her performance was honored as it unfolded, and again after the fact when the WNBA acknowledged its greatest ever players. Before Hammon even left the league, she began making history in another one. But despite all that individual success and all that trailblazing, Becky Hammon never won a championship as a WNBA player, one of the league's few superstars for whom that's true. How? What happened? What forces conspired to leave one of basketball's best ever stories untitled? Hammon didn't get picked in the 1999 draft, but that's partially because it was crowded with players from the disbanding ABL. And going undrafted had a silver lining. Hammon was assigned as a free agent to the New York Liberty, a defensive winning team. She played understudy and apprentice to legendary point guard Teresa Weatherspoon. Hammon would rise from bench warmer to contributor over her first 2 seasons, and the Liberty looked like contenders, but something got in the way. Some things, really, plural. On one of the very first plays of the '99 season, literally 40 seconds into Hammon's career, New York star center Rebecca Lobo shredded ligaments in her left knee coming down from a rebound. Lobo missed not only the rest of that season, but all of the next one after re-injuring the knee. But even with Lobo, New York might have fallen short. From the inception of the WNBA in 1997 until Cynthia Cooper's retirement, the Houston Comets were unstoppable. Led by a titanic big 3 of Cooper, Tina Thompson, and Cheryl Swoops, the Comets steamrolled to the first 4 WNBA championships. The last 2 came against the Lobo-less Liberty, who did have their moments. The rookie Hammon rode the bench for a '99 team stocked with veterans. But that changed when New York stumbled out of the gates in the championship. Houston smoked New York in Game 1, then took a big second-half lead in Game 2 of the 3-game series. Facing elimination, Liberty coach Richie Adubato turned to his little-used rookie. The announcers hinted she might inject some life back into the game with a bigger second-half role.
Becky Hammon back in the game. She played well in limited minutes in the first half.
And indeed, Hammon helped erase a deficit with a big 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4 ice-cold free throws in the final minutes. All that set up one of the most exciting basketball finishes ever. Down 2, New York's Crystal Robinson buried a jumper to tie the game.
Crystal Robinson ties the game with 16.3 remaining.
But with just seconds left and the Liberty out of timeouts, Thompson got this turnaround bucket to put Houston up 2. The compact center crowd got on their feet to watch a 3rd straight trophy presentation, and then Teresa Weatherspoon hit one of the greatest shots in basketball history.
Weatherspoon at the buzzer, a 3. Oh, she put it in! She put it in! And the Liberty win Game 2!
So yeah, Hammon was part of a classic playoff game, one of the few the Comets lost during that era. But yeah, Houston dominated Game 3 to win it all, and they repeated the following season. Those 2000 finals had another close Game 2, but this time it was Houston's Cooper hitting a deep 3 that sent it to overtime, wherein Houston completed the sweep. Nobody got past the Comets, and as their big 3 faded into the sunset, Lisa Leslie's LA Sparks ensured the Eastern Conference would get no relief. The Liberty didn't get a chance to face them in 2001. They couldn't close out Dawn Staley and the Charlotte Sting in the Eastern Conference Finals. New York missed multiple opportunities to send the decisive Game 3 of that series to overtime. Vicki Johnson forced an initial effort, and the Liberty mishandled offensive rebounds. In 2002, the Liberty got their shot at the Sparks, but they fell apart in the second half of Game 1 at home despite Hammon's hot-shooting 18-point performance off the bench. New York kept it closer in Game 2 and had a chance to send it to overtime, until LA's Nikki Teasley buried the title-winning shot in the final seconds. In my estimation, 2003 should have been the year. Weatherspoon's WNBA career was winding down, but she still quarterbacked a starting lineup with all-star Tari Phillips in the middle and the Crystal Robinson-Vicki Johnson duo filling it up from outside. Despite still coming off the bench, Hammon broke out as New York's leading scorer, including a game in June in which she hit 6 threes and dropped 33 points, a Liberty scoring record that wouldn't be broken for a decade. In late June, New York stood at 6-4 with Hammon en route to her first All-Star team. Then disaster struck. Hammon's torn ACL ended her season and immediately extinguished New York's postseason hopes. And it's a shame. The Sparks finally looked vulnerable in 2003. An Eastern Conference team finally won it all in 2003. But it wasn't the Liberty, who finished that season below 500 and out of the playoffs, sliding hard after Hammon's injury. So during Hammon's rise from end-of-bencher to key player, New York fell in 3 WNBA finals and then lost her for most of the season. Becky's return in 2004 marked a new era. Weatherspoon was elsewhere, so Hammon was now the starter, the point guard running the whole show. And she thrived in that role. It was just a lot of stuff around her that didn't go so hot. 2004 was a wacky season, and not just because of the month-long intermission forced by the Athens Olympics. The Liberty fired Coach Adebayo after a 7-9 start. Pat Coyle took over and turned New York's season around, but not without speed bumps. Tari Phillips suffered a season-ending injury in June. New York had a new 6'4 center, Belgian youngster Ann Waters, but she broke her foot in July. The Liberty were forced to play a bunch of home games at Radio City Music Hall after the Republican National Convention booted them from Madison Square Garden. In spite of all that, New York persevered. With Coyle coaching, Hammon leading the way on the floor, and Yelena Baranova assuming a bigger role in the front court, the Liberty took down the shorthanded reigning champion Detroit Shock in the first round of the playoffs. Hammon's game-winning assist to Bethany Donovan sealed the deal. But the Liberty got swept in the next round by the Connecticut Sun, a team led by Nikesha Sales and Taj McWilliams-Franklin, plus rookie Lindsay Whalen running point guard against Hammon. Hammon struggled in that series, unable to strike a balance between scoring and distributing to her depleted supporting cast. New York could have pushed the series to a third and decisive game, but they lacked the firepower. The Liberty crumbled down the stretch of Game 2 with a flurry of turnovers and fouls. Okay, so how about 2005? Hammon got even more comfortable in her leadership role, Coyle got to coach a full season, and crucially, Waters' foot had healed. The center busted out for her first All-Star season in America, joining Hammon in the honor. The Liberty overcame a slow start to restore a winning record and join playoff contention. And then Waters broke her hand in a late-season game versus Charlotte. More bad timing, more bad luck for Hammon's top target. A shame because Waters had been effective all summer against the Indiana Fever, New York's first-round opponent, even posting her career high in points against them during the regular season. Without Waters, New York barely put up a fight and slipped out of the playoffs in a 2-game sweep. And after that, another injury, Hammon's sprained ankle in 2006, doomed her final season in New York. So Hammon's first 4 seasons in New York came during the reign of Western Conference powerhouses. Her next 4 seasons made her a star, but were derailed by injury. The Liberty won just 11 games in 2006, their worst performance to date, and on draft night 2007, they leaned into their rebuild with a move that surprised everyone, even the commissioner.
The New York Liberty traded Becky Hammon and a second-round draft pick in 2008 for the draft rights to Jessica Davenport and a first-round draft pick in 2008. Wow.
That trade headlined a huge offseason for San Antonio. They already had All-Star Sophia Young and Hammon's old Liberty teammate Vicki Johnson, and along with Hammon, they added a couple strong bigs. Reigning Most Improved Player Aaron Busher and Ruth Riley, who just won a ring with the Shock. That core led the Stars to winning records and postseasons for the first time since moving to San Antonio from Utah, where they had been the Stars. But the league's next great point guard stood in their way, and the one time she didn't, someone else did. In 2007, despite a season-ending injury to Busher, the Stars with an S marched into the playoffs. They split their opening first-round games against the Sacramento Monarchs. And in the closing moments of Game 3, Hammon found her old friend Johnson for the game winner. San Antonio advanced to face the best of the West. The Phoenix Mercury had the league's top offense thanks to a blistering big three of Cappie Pondexter, Penny Taylor, and deadly point guard Diana Taurasi. At home for Game 1, Hammon gave San Antonio the jolt they needed, with drives like these to score 13 third-quarter points. In the final minute, Phoenix's leading scorer, Pondexter, hit this tough shot to give the Mercury an 8-point lead, but San Antonio wasn't done. This young post-up kicked off an improbable rally, and after the Stars pulled within 3, Taurasi committed a horrid turnover, just slipping and losing the ball with 11 seconds left. That was more than enough for Becky time. Hammon took a handoff from Vicki Johnson and buried one of the biggest shots of her career. Game tied, overtime on deck until this. Pondexter appeared to just fall down untouched, but the refs whistled a foul on the Stars, allowing Pondexter to sink 2 free throws, giving this classic game an underwhelming finish. San Antonio's jaw-dropping comeback and Hammon's clutch shot went for naught, and in Game 2, the Stars looked deflated. Pondexter dominated that one with 33 points as Phoenix completed a sweep. The Mercury haunted San Antonio for years, but for one season, 2008, Phoenix took a dip. Right after winning the 2007 championship, the Mercury lost coach Paul Westhead and not only failed to defend their title, but missed the playoffs entirely. That gave the Stars an opportunity, and they seized it. Hammon and Young had excellent seasons, and they were joined by a key newcomer, Ann Waters. Hammon's old Liberty pal and her wintertime teammate with CSKA Moscow came on board and gave the Stars a strong inside presence, moving Riley to the bench. San Antonio boasted the league's best defense, won a league-leading 24 games, and took care of the Monarchs and Sparks in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. For the first time, a team led by Becky Hammon was in the WNBA Finals, and the Stars had extra reason to believe. They'd gone undefeated in the regular season against Eastern Conference teams, including 2 decisive victories over their finals opponent, the Detroit Shock. No such luck on the big stage. San Antonio's defense focused on stopping Detroit star Deanna Nolan in Game 1 and succeeded, but that left Katie Smith and Taj McWilliams-Franklin free to drop a combined 49 points. Hammon and company kept the game close, but couldn't get anything to drop in the final minutes as Detroit pulled away. That was sort of the vibe of the series. Smith helped Detroit build a big lead again in Game 2. Then Hammon tried frantically to lead San Antonio back into it, but ran out of steam in the final minutes. Smith and the Shock had the advantage of championship-winning experience, while even Hammon, as San Antonio's veteran leader, looked flustered at times. She shot just 1 of 10 in a blowout Game 3 defeat that completed Detroit's sweep. And even with more experience under her belt, Hammon would never get that close again. Her Stars couldn't recreate their top-notch defense over the next few seasons. They slipped into the playoffs with losing records, but never again made it out of the first round. The West was just too full of titans. Taurasi's Mercury got them in 2009 en route to a championship, and then again in 2010. In 2011, the Minnesota Lynx took their first step toward an odd-year dynasty by dispatching San Antonio in the first round. The Stars took a game in that series, but blew their best chance at an upset when Lindsay Whalen stole an inbound pass on what could have been the winning possession in Game 1. The Sparks did it to San Antonio with a first-round sweep in 2012. Another ACL tear ended Hammon's 2013 season and spurred a shift toward her pioneering next step into NBA coaching. Her career wound down just as Danielle Robinson was rising to stardom for San Antonio. And in 2014, after a first-round sweep and emotional farewell from Minnesota, Hammon retired from the WNBA without a championship to her name. Hammon entered the league on a contending team, but during an early era of WNBA powerhouses when the contenders didn't really contend. She became a star for some great teams, but teams that constantly ran into injuries and suffered a few heartbreaking last-second outcomes. All that denied Becky Hammon a WNBA ring in her playing days, but it took nothing away from her remarkable story, her profound legacy, and her next frontier. Thanks a lot for watching Untitled. If you subscribe to SB Nation's YouTube channel, you'll get notified when new videos come out, like more episodes of Untitled or other stuff.